Welcome to another episode of the Better Than I Found It podcast. I'm Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor University. Today's guest is Brandt Kieschnick, the men's golf coach at Sam Houston State University in Huntsville, Texas. Today, Brandt describes his time as a student athlete at Sam Houston and the pride that he has in leading the program at his alma mater. We also discuss his team's storybook year this past season, truly one of the best stories in all of college golf. Brandt shows us that there's a way to use a positive chip on the shoulder, which is precisely what his boys had this year. To me, Brandt is a wonderful example of what a great coach does to get players to believe in a dream. His vision for their program is truly inspirational. Let's get right to the interview. I'd like to welcome my guest today on Better Than I Found It, Brandt Kieschnick, the golf coach at Sam Houston State University. Brandt, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy summer schedule to spend some time talking today.
Well, thank you. Honored to be with you, Mike and Mikkel, and just very humbled that you guys would allow me on your podcast. It's an honor for me, one of the great honors. Thank you.
Well, I never did think I'd be doing a podcast. And what I've tried to do with this podcast is to get coaches, players, current players, former players, just different people in golf, certainly relating more to college golf, and just see how they do things, see what kind of value they can provide, see what they can bring to the table, and see why they're successful. And you are a very successful coach, and I have watched. I didn't know you when I was at Oklahoma State. I knew you, but I didn't really know you. Got to Baylor, and we've developed a really good relationship, and it's been fun to watch that develop. But thanks for taking time, because I know you and I are both in a whirlwind of summer recruiting. I mean, it's crazy. Aren't you thankful to be back out on the road?
Without a doubt, yeah. Actually, this is my first week this week because we had camp after the national championship, and then it's my first time to get out and saw you guys, and I missed it so much. It's really been about a year and a half, so it's been more than a year, almost 2 years. So it's been great.
Yeah, I think that's the rough thing. And I'm in my podcast with Lee Jansen, we talked about how recruiting has really been messed up for a couple of classes. A couple of classes of kids have really not benefited from COVID at all. And I think that it's great that they now have coaches actually watching and evaluating in person. Did you sign anybody up this week?
Well, I didn't sign anybody up. On your point there, though, it's neat. I love how many parents came up to us and just in passing said, "It's so good to see you out here. Thank you, thank you, thank you." So that I love that. Not only seeing the kids play, we have to see our kids play that we want to sign. You can't. It's just hard to, we can go by scores, but you got to see how they react and all that. But just seeing that again, seeing the kids' faces that were there, and just having parents just go by and say, "Hey, thank you for being here." That was awesome. So that's what I really loved about this, getting back this summer.
Yeah, and you and I both know evaluating a kid is way more than a score on a resume, and sometimes those are misleading anyway.
Sure.
And like you, I kind of like to see a guy play bad sometimes. I want to see what that looks like. We know he's going to play bad when he gets on campus one day, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll probably get in this a little bit later, but I think you and I both agree how their mental toughness is. What they have on the inside, I think, is what we look for. And I love to see how they react to a bad shot. I love to see if they make a couple bogeys, where they do, how they finish the round. So it's good to see that again.
That's great. Well, I'm excited as well to be back out. So before we get to the main reason of why I wanted to talk to you to begin with, which is the big elephant in the room, like this great season you guys had, and certainly the postseason, which was got a lot of national press and a lot of coverage, which was great for you and for your university. But before I get to that, I thought I'd set the stage by kind of letting people know how you arrived at Greyhawk. That didn't happen just in the last couple of months. You've been building a program for a long, long time. So unlike a lot of coaches, and very few coaches get the opportunity to do this, you are coaching at your alma mater. That's like an amazing, amazing honor. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I would say, I don't know how many coaches get to coach at the alma mater, but there's just an extra fuel. There's an extra, I love going here so much. I played here. My wife's from here. It's a great, it's just a great university. There's a great humility about these people here. It's just a great environment. And to be able to coach and lead the program, you just have that extra, I came in, I'll be honest with you, I came in as an alum to try to, all right, let's make a stable program. Let's, I know we can be good here, and I want to help do that. So I've just got that little extra fire because I know we can be good here, and it just helps, it just helps. Maybe it just helps us, like I said, just maybe work a little extra harder. I don't know, but it's just, there's an extra specialness to it.
When I played college, I played at a NAIA school, Central Oklahoma. It's now a Division II school, but the best NAIA team was Sam Houston State at the time. And Coach Choate was winning national championships. And I remember my junior year, we went to the national championship at Waterwood National, and just crushes my heart every time I think about that golf course. Because
good for you. That's good for you. If you played Waterwood in the 80s, that's amazing. Because
I played Waterwood when you had to hit a 3-wood on the 13th hole just to get over that water.
Well, your fans, I don't know if your fans or those listening will understand how hard that shot is, or how that was the Karsten Creek before Karsten Creek. It was so hard. Good for you.
But anyway, Sam Houston was the team to beat, and they won the national championship that year as well. But they eventually became an emerging D1 school. And how long had they been a D1 school when you took over?
I think they became D1 in around 86, 85, 86.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it was well after I got through college, well before you even played there.
Right.
But they weren't hugely successful at the Division I level. I never did go to the national championship. So,
right.
So you played there. I think you won 5 college tournaments. Interestingly enough, you won Baylor's Invitational here in Waco.
My big win was I won conference, but my biggest win was the Baylor Invitational. The first one y'all had, Tim Hobby was the coach, and Jimmy Walker was there, and Hank Keeney, and I always tell my players that that's one of my most special wins. So yeah, no, I was very fortunate to win a few times and go to the regionals as an individual. But yeah, you're right. We never made it as a team regionally. That was one of my big things too, is when I got here, coach was like, we've got to get to regionals. I mean, we did it our second year, thankfully, but it was, I played as an individual. I know how special that week is. It's like second stage of Q school. It's the most important week of the year. So anyway, so yeah, we was able to win a few times, and like I said, that's helped me, coach as well.
Well, a player, a coach, and a player that I'm very close to, Alan Bratton at Oklahoma State. He's getting to coach at his alma mater, and before I coached at Oklahoma State, Mike Holder was the golf coach, and he was coaching at his alma mater. So I think it's special what you're doing. I think it's great to go back to a place that gave you so much, and then you want to give back. And so you want to leave it, the name of this podcast is Better Than I Found It.
That's right.
And I just piggybacked off that book that I wrote. But the truth is, that's what you're doing at Sam Houston. You are leaving that place better. And gosh, you're such a young guy. You'd probably coach another 20 or 25 years. If you do it all at Sam Houston, I would be shocked if you didn't have a nationally competitive team every year. That's just me on the outside looking in, watching from afar. There's so many things that make you a great coach. I hope some of those come out for our listeners today. But it's been fun for me to watch you build a program. You built it with faith.
Yes.
So I want to talk about that before we move into the meat and potatoes of what you've accomplished and what happened this spring. But how important is faith in your coaching journey?
If you're, if you're men of faith, it's who you are. And I'm thankful we have players from, and I know you're the same way, Mike. We have players from all walks of life. But I think, and we'll get into this maybe a little bit later, but I learned a lot. I've learned a lot from you. I've learned a lot. I've watched other coaches who are of faith. And I tell you, Coach, you really helped me. And just watching him, I actually got to email him at the national championship. I thanked him before he played. It was a guy named Tony Bennett from Virginia, the Virginia men's basketball. He does a fantastic job of intertwining his faith and just his principles and truths that help the game of basketball, help kids' lives, right? from every walk of life. Like if we embrace humility, if we embrace humility, thankfulness, unity, just great truths that are great for basketball. They're great for your life. So I think that's where we is just say, listen, this is who I am. I think I don't shove anything down anybody's throat, and I'm very, very respectful, but there's some great truths about humility and that work in a team environment, that work in learning how to play the game, that work in learning. We got to be humble. If I'm going to come and tell you, listen, you got to get better at this part of your game, and you need to take that as me trying to get you better, and you don't need to get upset about that. It's going to take some humility to do that. So anyway, faith was huge in a moment of crisis during. I'll end with this. We maybe dovetail off this, but I was literally quoting to the team at regionals, Romans 8:28, all things work together for good for those who love God. I said, listen, guys, this is something really bad that has happened. You got to give these kids hope, though. Like, listen, I told Will, I don't know what's going to happen here. This is really bad. You can't play, but something good's going to come out of this. That's faith. There's a great truth and promise that we can hang on. Like, this is awful for you, but somewhere down the road, something's going to happen. That's good. I don't know if it's today, tomorrow, a year from now. I've told the team the same thing that, when you're devastated, at least we're not just left there, right? There's some hope. So that's where it was huge for us, and kind of going back on our faith, giving them some hope. Say, listen, guys, I don't know what's going to happen today, but I think something good's going to come out of it, whether in your life someday or you're going to remember this. And that's where it really helped, Mike, to be honest with you.
Well, that's great. And, I think that you were saying you don't force it on your players, your faith. And I try not to do the same, even here at Baylor, where I'm encouraged to share my faith. But I would say this, your faith is much more than your words. It's how you walk and the things you do on a daily basis. So that's why I know you're a man of faith, is just the way you take care of your business. And I know your players benefit from that. Keep that up. Don't ever lose that. It's an amazing, amazing example. And for us coaches as well. So, so obviously you built the program for you on faith. That's just the way you are and who you are. But you've also done some things with facilities that you didn't have when you got there in 2012. So talk a little bit about that, because I want every coach, especially at the mid-major level, that take over a program like you did, where you say, I want to leave this better than I got it. Well, you've done that. So talk about facilities.
Yeah. So we, when I got here, we've always had really good golf courses to play. So that was a given. But when we had a facility that was about 1,800 square feet. It was 2 bays. We were sharing it with a golf course. Just typical deal that we're very thankful to have. But we're kind of running into each other. And thankfully, early on in my coaching career, I met a guy named Robert Steele, who had given to the university. And my AD Bobby Williams and I just said, listen, I just need to get to know him. And it was great. It was a great story, maybe, of how things come about. I just developed a relationship with Mr. Steele, kind of like what you did when you got to Baylor. You develop a relationship with your alum, and just would go play golf with them, invite them to some of our things, and over a year it developed a friendship. And then we had a capital campaign, and Bobby Williams, our AD, was presenting it to our donors, and he just went up to us and said, hey, I want to do this. We had a vision for a new facility. It's about 3,000 square feet. We designed it, 3 hitting bays, and just presented it at what we call a Bearkats in Business in Houston. And Mr. Steele was there, and he just came up and said, listen, I want to do this. I want to partner with you guys. And it happened like that. That was January of 2016. And we built it, finished it April 1, 2019. So just a story of developing relationships and say, hey, I never really asked for any money. It just, hey, I know, this guy might want to help us one day, and kind of tell him what we're doing. And eventually he wanted to be a part of it. So.
Well, I think when you have a program where you're turning out really good student athletes, good kids, great guys that go on and try to play pro golf or become great businessmen, those things, donors start to notice that. They start to realize, well, this program is more than just about the wins and losses on the field or on the golf course. They're producing champions. And I think it's really, really important for young coaches that get into it to realize you're not just have your hand out asking for money. Right. You got to produce something first.
That's right.
So
that's exactly right.
You're
right. I love you're talking about the GPA. That plays a lot into it. I said, those kids say, listen, and I've told this. I said, listen, guys, you need to be competitive program, honestly. But when they hear that you have a team GPA of whatever is 3.0 or a kid, that's when they really buy in and say, listen, okay, there's a completeness to this, program. It's a student athlete. And that's when we've seen they've really wanted to invest in our program, when they're seeing good students. And I'll never forget it, Mike. You said this. We were at, I think it was like 2014 at the US Junior. They're doing a coaches panel. I'll never forget you said this. It actually helped me. You said, we're talking to parents at the Woodlands. I don't know if you remember this.
I do remember.
But you said if, and I think you talked about this with your players at Oklahoma State. You're just at Baylor. If you don't think your GPA matters, it does, because it talks about who you are off the course, right? And if I've learned anything in coaching, I've learned this: the quicker these kids mature off the course, their golf scores go through the roof. Mm-hmm. And that helped me when you said that. I was like, you know what? There's a connection to your pride in your schoolwork, right? And your golf game. And I love when you said that. That was huge for me to just say, listen, it matters. It matters. What you do in the class.
I think I learned that from Mike Holder, and he told me a story about how he didn't care when he got the job at Oklahoma State. He could care less how they did in school as long as they were eligible. Because if they were eligible, they could travel. If they could travel, they could go win golf tournaments. And that's all he cared about. And in 1984, his best player, Scott Verplank, got a plaque in the mail from the Golf Coaches Association the first year they were having academic All-Americans. And Mike looked at this, and there was one for Scott, and there was one for the school. And Mike thought, oh my gosh, this is another way for our team to be recognized. It's another way for our team to be excellent. And literally in one moment's time, Mike shifted his paradigm from golf only, it's the only important thing, to realizing they're not mutually exclusive. The way you do it in the classroom is kind of the way you're going to do it in golf. And he told me that story, and I believe that since day one. And I preach that to young coaches that ask me, how do I get my team to be the most competitive team in the country? Well, you make sure they're making good grades too. And you make sure they're going to class. If you're in town, they better be in class.
That's
and so
awesome.
I learned that at Oklahoma State. So every time I have a chance to say something, look, I didn't even have any idea it had that impact on you.
It did. Yeah, I remember that. Because again, I think golf is just more in a game. The golf ball is just more in the ball. I saw this on the movie. It's how you go about it, right? It's how you go. It's how you go about it. It's the pride you have in your life to excel. Whatever we talk about that a lot in our program. Whatever and it talks about that in Ecclesiastes. Whatever your hands touch, just do it the best you can, right? I don't care if. And again, I'm gonna just kind of give you behind our curtain. We study the mentally elite, like the SEALs. The SEALs are the best at charting beaches, at jumping out of planes, at swimming, at obstacle courses, at breathing techniques. They're the best at everything they touch. So school is a big part of that. I'm not saying you got to be a 4.0, but there's some guys that work hard that are 2.5. I'm fine with that, right? Mm-hmm. And then the same guy might make another guy might make 3.7. It's the effort that you talk about, that conviction, that standard, that accountability of, all right, if you're going to go do something, do it the best you can. If that's 2.5, great. But it's what's behind it. And that's, like I said, I believe I had a goal of 3.0, but you helped me see that connection of, hey, it does matter what you do. It matters to your golf, right?
I'm glad that you saw the connection, and I know your team's benefiting from it. So before we talk about this spring, and I want you to talk about this spring, because I need every coach to hear what happened to you guys. I need to hear that. But years ago, we were playing Baylor. We were down at the All-American in Houston, and you guys were in the field. And we had maybe a top 10 team in the country. And I think you guys were ranked 108th.
Sure.
And we finished second to you guys that day. And I remember thinking to myself, this is an amazing opportunity, because I'm going to make my guys go to this awards ceremony. There's no question about that. And I'm going to make them see the tournament director hand that trophy to you guys. But I wanted them to see the elation, and I wanted them to see what it was on your kids' faces, because I know that was a big moment. And sure. So I guess talk about that day, the day I'm talking about. Yep. And then let's let that lead into a discussion that I want to talk about a healthy chip on your shoulder, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, y'all I think y'all made match play that year, if I remember.
Yes, we
That
did.
was that team with Perrine. Y'all had Perrine and Cooper. Yep. Just an awesome team. Listen, I mean, it was a huge moment. That was a huge win for us. You know, I don't know how else to say it. I tell the guys this: if I want to get out of bed that morning to come work with you guys, we're going to try to be a national championship team. There's no other. I mean, there's no point in getting out of bed. So, you know, we try to do the things that win. But it was huge for us to battle you guys, to show, you know, it is. You just got to see what you have on the inside. And, you know, that was just a good week where game plan came together. We were, you know, I felt like we were mentally in every shot, and, you know, that's, you know, ball control is good golf, and mental game, you know, good mental discipline routines, good golf. And I feel like we did that well this week, and it showed the guys, hey, we can play with anybody that we compete against. Now, you know, that y'all's team would probably beat us 9 times out of 10, which it probably did that year. But, you know, we were just very. I just remember that week we had really honed in on everybody playing the same way. Not just, you know, I mean, I know it's cliche, but one shot at a time, one target at a time, and just execute as well as you can. And just, that was kind of the beginning of, you know, we had been winning, we'd win some conference championship. That was kind of the beginning of us saying, okay, you know, we can play with anybody when we need to.
You know, when I was at Oklahoma State, we had the #1 team in the country, and we were playing in the Fighting Illini, and Illinois hadn't had any great seasons yet. And Mike Small was a fairly young coach at the time. And I remember him telling me a year later, the day they came back and beat us that day at the Fighting Illini and they won, I remember him talking about how that was a turning point.
Sure,
and
sure.
Mike Small's team's been great for 13 straight years. They've been awesome. And so, and they were not a mid-major, they were a Power 5, but it had never had any true success.
Sure. Yeah.
And so anyway, I hope that was a turning point for you. It hurt us not winning that day, but I also could see in your face how much that meant to your program. Really proud of you and was happy about that for you. But so I look at one of my main tenays, if you will, with players is to respect all players, respect every opponent. I mean,
Sure.
The moment you lose respect for your opponent, you lose respect for yourself, and you're probably going to head to a crash. And
that's right.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to ask this question bluntly, straightforward. Do you ever feel a lack of respect from other Division I teams about Sam Houston? I mean, does it come across that way at all?
No, I'll be honest with you, I don't. I feel like in men's golf, I feel like it's like baseball. You know, Cal State Fulton's great at baseball.
Yep.
You know, Wichita State, Sam Houston's great at baseball. I feel like there's respect there. I've never once felt like, you know, you're down here and we're up here. I mean, you know, now expectation wise may be different, but
yeah,
because, you know, we you know, there's teams that are there every year, and we got to be one of those teams, and hopefully maybe we're really starting that. But no, I'm like you. I always tell my guys, if we're in a contention and there's someone, you know, we always say, listen, you better expect that team to play their best day that day. Like, that's, you know, don't just because they're whatever they're ranked, expect them to play their best. So, but no, we've been coaches around the country, teams. I feel like we've been very respected. So.
Well, I agree. I've always respected you and what you do, but there's something else you've done that I want to talk about today, and that's the chip on your shoulder. But before we get to that, this team was built well before you played those good tournaments at the end. I mean, it was way back when. And I remember watching William Holcomb play junior golf thinking, well, he won the U.S. junior qualifying with a boot on his foot. He couldn't even, he had like a broken ankle or something and went out and won that. So I thought, man, I missed on that kid because he's a tough dude. And then he almost won the U.S. Amateur a few years later. Your team has steadily grown in the rankings. You've gotten better and better and better. But I'm not sure anybody could have expected what happened this spring.
Sure.
So, but anyway, congratulations on building a program that can't even get to that stage. And then now let's just talk about, I guess, start from about maybe conference on.
Yeah. So conference, if I can, I'm going to start a little bit earlier, if you don't mind.
Do.
You know, because with COVID, I felt like this fall, we didn't play any events this fall. I felt like we did a good job of creating an atmosphere of expectation, in the sense, okay, listen, and we worked out 4 days a week. We had our own little tournaments. We kind of said, all right, this is what we're going to do. And I felt like we were the same guy every day. But yeah, and so I felt like as we led up to conference, we were doing a good job of that. You know, I would say at conference, we had a good win. Obviously a good win, and rolling into regionals. You know, I was like, okay, this is the year. I feel like we've, you know, because we had made regionals like 4 of the last 6 years, but we got close at Auburn in 2014. Other than that, we weren't close. I was just trying to find that, you know, what is it? And I felt like this is a good team that can do it. And I felt like we were all on the same page, and we were playing good. We were playing. And it's funny you mentioned Mike Small. I'm just saying something real quick. I try to be, and I want the listeners to know this. I think I try to be, and I mean this, Mike, because I've driven up to your office just to spend time with you. Okay. One thing is, I feel like I try to do well. The way, maybe what strength I may have, I got a lot of weaknesses, but a strength I do have maybe is that when I see someone do it better than me, I want to know what they're doing. I want to talk to them. So I've driven up to Waco and spent time with you. I've spent time with Mike Small. I try to be like the two Mikes. If I can blend Mike McGraw and Mike Small, that's the kind of composite. And I'm not trying to toot your horn. I'm just saying, I'm being honest. I think your experience, your compassion, your big picture, and your golf knowledge married together is I think you're kind of the John Wooden of our profession. I think Mike Small I just think he has probably the greatest golfing mind in our profession, and competitiveness and just standards. He's got great standards that they hold to every day. That was a turning point for us this year. Mike beat us. We played with him at Lafayette. I have to go back. Sorry, I got to mention this. We're in the last group with them at Lafayette, and we were 15 back. We're 5 or 6, 7 under. They're 15 or 20 under. It doesn't matter. And they beat us by 40. They end up shooting 25 under. We watched them. And I talked to Mike early in the week. I said, Mike, they'd won LSU. It's like, how did y'all win LSU? I mean, how'd you do that? You came out of the cold. That was a national championship field. How do you do that? And he just goes, Brandt, we just played to our standards every day. And that just resonated with me. So I got back home from Lafayette, and I said, listen, guys, we just got beat by 40. Okay. We don't need to pat ourselves on the back that we finished 4th. We don't need to pat ourselves on the back that we finished under par. Okay. We got beat by whatever it is, 30. We need to be not okay with getting beat by 30. I don't care who it is. And I said that in a good way. I said, listen, those guys, we talk about our standards every day. They live it. And I'm just pointing at Illinois. I go, they live it every day. And that's where we're getting beat. So I said, I don't care if we're playing 9 holes at Elkins. I don't care if we're playing where we're playing. We're going to play the same way every day and keep each other accountable. That was a big turning point for us as we're going to regionals. So yeah, that's kind of our mindset going to regionals. So I'll let you kind of go where you want with that.
Right. Well, the thing that most occurred to me right there is you talked about 2 coaches you look up to, that you've talked to, that you've learned from. I think our profession's amazing because there's Mike Small. He has nothing to gain by telling you that, other than he's got a new fan, other than he's got a new brother in the coaching brotherhood. I mean, it's like our profession's awesome that way. Our guys really try to help each other. And so anyway, I remember our times when you come up and we've sat down. I want people to do that because I'm going to learn too.
Yeah.
This podcast isn't about me telling everybody what I know. It's about, hopefully each guest comes on and gives me a couple of nuggets of wisdom. I'm going, wow, I'm glad I heard that. Well, what Mike just said, that's true for every coach. If you're not living by your standards and every single day, you're going to die by them eventually.
Right. That's right.
So really, really well done. Well, you and I both show up with teams there at Karsten Creek. And honestly, I've seen Karsten Creek play a lot harder than it did that week. It was still a challenge, but it was not as hard as I had seen it. But our team, I'll just get that behind us real quick. We had a very disappointing finish and finished a shot out of qualifying for nationals. And I still believe that's where all the learning in life takes place, is in disappointment and failure. And so I know that my guys learned some things. And some of my guys that graduated are taking it with them to pro golf. But there's so much learning that takes place in there. But we get to talk about an exciting, wonderful experience for you. And that is, wow, you got a guy, your best player, who's in the hunt to win the championship after 2 rounds, gets COVID positive. So
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah, actually, his roommate was COVID positive.
Right.
He was
contact tracing.
Yeah, so thankfully he never got COVID. But yeah, so I mean, I'll just tell you just kind of how it happened real quick. We had that 36-hole day, and you're right. The wind had laid down, the course was soft. That was the first time I've been to Carson Creek, Mike. So we got the very fortunate. We didn't see with all its teeth. That probably helped us quite a bit, to be honest with you. So anyway, as you know, 18 holes is a big test, but 36 holes on that golf course is wow. I mean, that was a long day, long grind. And anyway, I'll just kind of give you a quick, brief story that day. We played 36 holes. We're 1 shot out of 5th. Oklahoma State and Illinois and SMU have separated themselves. It's going to be a battle with you guys. It's going to be a battle with Northwestern, and I can't remember who's behind us. But anyway, we have testing that night at 7:30. So we go right from the golf course to the hotel. My sports medicine guy goes and gets our dinner. We all get tested, and our 6th player has to stay behind for like 20 minutes. They had an inconclusive test. So we all went to our room. I tried to eat, and he calls me about 30 minutes later. He goes, "Coach, you need to come down here." I was like, "Oh, great. This can't be good." So anyway, long story short, he takes a couple more tests and he pops positive. Well, then the stories with Will, his roommate, who had tested negative. What do we do with him? So we had to separate them, get them isolated rooms. We were on the phone with the NCAA till about 11:30. Can he play? Can he play? Can he play? And then we found out the next morning he couldn't play. So yeah, we're me and my sports medicine director had to go into his room and say, "Will, you can't play." I called a quick 8:30 meeting in the parking lot and told the team, through tears, that Will couldn't play. And then, Mike, the hardest thing, it'd be that kind of like, leaving a child. Will was in his window 2 stories up looking down on us in the parking lot. Just amazing, powerful, I mean, now hindsight, powerful moment of him on the phone, not being able to play, him encouraging the guys, telling them what to do, us crying, trying to get the team to deal with that. I didn't want to tell them the night before because I didn't think they would sleep. And
that's good coaching right there, by the way. Seriously, that was good.
And just, we teed off at 10:30. Just, I figured 2 hours we could deal with it. And then honestly, after that, we had the meeting in the parking lot. We had breakfast, went back in the parking lot, and we're leaving, and Will's still in the window. And I was like, "Man, you got to stop this, Will." I got tears in my eyes. I'm driving to the course, but I don't know. Something special happened, Mike. You're talking about our profession. We've got the greatest profession in the world. I had, so many, like yourself, so many coaches come up to say, "Man, I'm so sorry. I'm pulling for you today." Teams we're playing against are saying, "I'm pulling for you." Now, they're obviously pulling for their team, but there's just something magical there. And I just felt like, okay, we did nothing wrong here. We just go do our best. And, I just had a good feeling about it. I don't know where they like to say that, but it's just like, it's going to be okay. So it's kind of what happened.
I think your faith probably led you to believe it's going to be okay anyway. I prepared these kids for these moments, and this is one of those moments, and hopefully they're as ready as I think they are. And
yeah,
you guys ended up playing beautifully, really, really well that day.
Well, thank you. I remember telling them that in the parking lot, I said, "Listen, the SEALs talk about you always sink down to your level of training, right? So when the pressure's on, when the bullets are flying, like I always want to know, what are they thinking when bullets are flying? What's their mind telling them?" And they always say you sink down to your level of training. So I felt like that's the most pressure we felt, in the sense of, hey, we got to get it done. But I felt like we practice that every day. It's the same thing every day. And it's just, now was the ultimate test. But last thing I'll say on that, we were on our 9th hole that last round, and I'm 18. It's 18, the par 5 at Carson Creek. And Will texts me. He goes, "Coach, just calm down. It's going to be okay. And I'm thinking, this kid has had his life, his feet knocked out from under him, and he's okay with this. Then I'm gonna be just fine. That was a huge moment for me, just to kind of relax and take the tension out of it. But I will say this. I do want to mention this because I learned this from Tony Bennett, and if there's coaches out there, like you said, I would encourage like Tony Bennett. Maybe you're familiar with this, but he has these pillars he has for his program, and I saw him when my two boys play basketball. They love basketball. So I'm in the basketball world, and I watched him win the national championship. And so I'm YouTubing stuff on him. He's just different. I love the way he talks, love the way he coaches. But he has a pillar system that's based on truths, eternal truths. And I was like, gosh, I know we all coach a certain way. And I was like, I'm going to put together my pillars. So anyway, not my pillars, but the things that I think are important to a team, and kind of making them my own. So anyway, but the last 2 years, we got these in our facility, but these have been huge for us. Our pillars are humility, hard work, wisdom, discipline, and team. And I say that to say this, that was huge for us that last round. Just living, there's promises in humility and hard work and wisdom in everything, and discipline. Gosh, I know you're the king of discipline. Discipline is so huge in a game of golf, in your life. And then the team aspect is hard to do in an individual game, but I feel like our team aspect really came out that day. So anyway, that was huge for us getting through that day.
Well, and congratulations again on that. And I know there was a great amount of celebration, but let's get to a coaching point here too. I mean, obviously you're one of the guys to celebrate an amazing accomplishment for the first time in program history to get to the national championship.
Right.
But as a coach, you also you have to shift gears because you've got to get them in the right mindset to go play at Greyhawk. So
that's right.
Kind of pivot there, if you will, and talk about what you did and what you said to get them to Greyhawk.
That's exactly, and you're exactly right. Again, when you have great players, they also make you great coaches. Here's what I mean by that. We at conference, the first round, we were 15 shots down through 15 holes after the first round, and we ended up being maybe 8 or 10 shots to Lamar after the first round. And in our team meeting that night, Will goes, listen, guys, Will Holcomb, he goes, we don't need to change a thing. Like, we just got to keep doing what we're doing, and we don't need to change a thing. And that was huge to hear him say that, because he was right. So all that to say, that was kind of our mantra the rest of the season. It's like, keep doing what we're doing. We don't need to change a thing. It'll come to us. That happened at regionals. So we just kept saying that at nationals. Okay. Same. Let's get our game plan on the course. We know our lines. We know which pins to go at collectively. Let's don't change a thing. Make sure everyone's small target, good routine, and it'll come to us. So we just kind of kept that mantra, and it obviously kept us right in there at nationals and almost making match play. So that was kind of the simplicity of that.
Did you have Will on staff as an assistant coach?
I'm telling you, man,
he knows what to say.
That guy's made me so much better. I cannot tell you. It's amazing how you have players that challenge you and keep you accountable.
Yeah, and I watched from afar, watched him develop his game and watched him develop into a national type player. But the one thing I know for sure is every player, when they come in as a freshman and before they even get on campus, you tell them, what would you like your legacy to be? Right. What is your legacy going to be in this program? Well, I got to tell you, Will, to me, is the consummate Bearcat. He's the guy, and he always will be in my eyes.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, that's great. Well, okay, so you get to the national tournament. You guys actually played beautifully there as well. Going into that last day of stroke play, I mean, you guys had a chance to make match play.
Yeah, we did. We had a good first round. We had 3 guys shooting under par, which is good. That separated us a little bit, because that golf course, 10 over was a good round out there if you had an after inning round, and I think we shot 2 under. So we had some good separation there. But yeah, I think it was just more of the same. And the last round, we gave a few shots, as everyone did, but yeah, we were right there. And I think it was good for us to prove that we have the stuff inside to play at the highest level. And I think we're doing things as a program day in and day out to play at the highest level. More importantly, believe at the highest level. And if I can encourage anybody, I just, Mike, this good golf is, like you said, good golf is good mental routine and ball control and pin discipline. And I think it doesn't matter what school you are. If you do those things and you want to win and you want to be great, I think you can play at the highest level.
I think you are right. You're correct about that. And I've got an old saying that says, good golf travels. So good golf works at Karsten Creek. It works at Greyhawk. It works at the Division II level. It works at a mid-major. It works at it's just good golf works, and you know what it takes to play good golf.
Right. That's exactly. Yeah. And I think if you get the kids believing that, I think our biggest thing is probably the same thing that you did at Baylor was, you know, what, 3 or 4 years later, y'all are playing for national championship in match play. That was huge when I think y'all made match play at was 17 or Rich Harvest Farms. And I'm watching y'all. I'm like, okay, that started when he got there, right? I'm sure from day one, if we're going to get up in the morning here at Baylor, we're going to try to win a national championship. And I can be honest, I can humbly say this, at Sam Houston, we talk about national championship. There's no other reason to do this. We just might as well do something else. There's no other reason to do this if we're not trying to win a national championship. I mean, we don't need to shoot for regionals. We don't need to shoot for winning a couple of tournaments. We need to shoot to try to win a national championship. And what does that look like? How do you do that every day? Okay. You know, we talk about shooting under par every day. I basically told the guys this, Mike. I said, listen, guys, national championship is not that far. And they said, what if we have 5 guys that can just shoot under par every day? What's wrong with that? Right? 1 under par. Mm-hmm. Think about that. If you have 5 guys on command are good at shooting under par, you're at least going to be right there, right? So you kind of make this big high goal, then you see the attainability of it. Okay, how do I shoot under par? Well, be mentally locked in, have great targets, good pin discipline, work on your ball control. You got to be mentally tough. So those are things we talk about every day, and give them that belief. I think at Baylor, you gave them that belief. Hey, we can do this. And next thing you know, you're playing for a national championship 2 or 3 years later. So I did this. I mean, just trying to do the same thing at Sam Houston. Yeah, no one expects us to do it, but I believe we can do it. And I think we do.
One more point I want to make, Brandt. You guys do have a chip on your shoulder.
Yes.
Now, some coaches and or players who have a chip on their shoulder, it comes across in a very kind of dark, negative way. No, it does. It really does. And I don't think it has to. I think you can be great competitors with a chip on your shoulder, and you can be well respected, and you haven't really, it's not like you've been this offensive Tasmanian devil just tearing through college golf. You're just getting better, and you believe that you're getting better. But talk about how you coach a chip on the shoulder. I want that before we finish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you see that. I just want to win. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, very competitive. You know, I don't think there's you don't do this to not, it's kind of like a basketball game or a baseball game. You just don't go out there and play and throw the ball around and have some fun. I think the team's trying to win, right? So
the winning score, don't they, Brandt? Don't they keep score?
They keep score. Yeah, exactly. So
it must matter.
It must matter, but obviously it's not what defines you, but I think what defines you is doing your best, right? And if you want to excel, that's one of our pillars too, is it says it's Proverbs, you find he who excels this work will stand before kings. So I'll tell the team, say, listen, you're given this gift, okay? It's a craft. Do the best you can. Like if you're the best at this game, you play on the Ryder Cup, you go to the Oval Office, right? You're before, our president's not a king, but you're before an audience with your craft. So I tell the guys, we're meant to excel. So, the chip is, we want to be the best. We want to try to win. And if we don't win, hey, we did our best. That's fine. But the goal is, again, there's no reason to get up. If you're not trying to win the game. And it's hard to do. It's very hard to do. When you get beat by Baylor, you go shake their hand and say, great job. And, y'all were better today, but we gave it our all. And we don't like beating you. And I think, to your point, I tell the guys this, okay, I'll end with this. We need to look our competitor in the eye and say this, and this is just good old fashioned. I mean, I love to compete. Like I love playing 9 holes with my guys and haven't played 2 months, say, I'm still going to try to beat you, right? But I try to tell my team this, listen, we need to look a competitor in the eye and say, listen, all right, I know you're really good, but I can ball control it too. I can be disciplined, and you may beat me, but I'm gonna compete as hard as I can. And I think that's what we try to do, is just whoever we face, not be scared, but respect them and just try to compete with them. So,
Well, you have done an amazing job of that. It's not gone unnoticed in college golf world. Finally, you got some attention because of what you did at regionals and then nationals. So, but it happened way before those moments. So I know that. I've watched that. I'm really proud for you as a coach, proud to be your friend, thankful that you are an example for other coaches in our industry, that you can be competitive and still be respectful. You can be a fiery competitor and still treat people the right way. So keep that up, Brandt. Don't lose that. And I wouldn't be surprised we see you at the national championship again very soon.
Well, Mike, thank you very much, and I appreciate. I sent you a text the other day. You sent a nice note, and I said, it's a little bit your fault. You've really taken me under your wing, and you didn't have to. And I was just this little old coach that just wanted to learn more. And you, again, you did not have to you didn't have to write a book. Your book helped me. And it's like, I need to spend some time with this guy. And you kind of put me under your wing a little bit.
Well,
yeah,
if I could first of all say thank you for that, but I did have to. I'm still competitive. I mean, I'm 61, but I'm still in a very competitive stage. I think we can be great at Baylor. There's no doubt in my mind. And there's no reason to stop being great. And I think I'll be the best I've ever been the last day I coach, whenever that is. I'll be the best I've ever been. So, but I want to pass that on to other coaches and other coaches my age, other coaches your age, and I'm hoping you're going to pass it to young coaches, that reach out to you. So yeah, I did have to do that. It's part of what we coaches need to do, and I know you give to the game too. So thank you for spending time with me on this podcast today. You brought a bunch of truth, and it was awesome. And I just look forward to seeing you out on the road again this summer.
Well, thanks again. It's an honor, and I'm, like I said, I'm humbled that you want to hear our story and about our program. But again, thank you for just being our example, and just we're standing on a lot of shoulders, and you're one of them. So I appreciate it, buddy.
I appreciate it. Have a great summer, Brandt. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.